While we try to be as helpful as possible, this podcast should not be considered as professional or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out professional advice for your own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Julia.
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is the Enthusiast Lab. Welcome back to another episode of the Enthusiast Lab. Today we have a special guest, Ryan from Kingsford.
Nick, Julia, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on board. So today in this episode we're going to highlight Kingsford at Bullsbrook, which is a estate that is pretty hot in the market at the moment.
In Perth, WA.
Yeah, in Perth, WA. And going to chitty chat about all the good things up that way and have a developer or a land agent come shed some light and answer some questions.
Basically just have a bit of a spit yarn about land, about developers, and obviously that northeast corridor in Perth, specifically around your Brabham, your Bullsbrook, where you guys are, and what the fuck the goal is, because back in the day I thought Bullsbrook was fucking whoop whoop. So, and now it isn't. So we're going to be going through all the things, and yeah, let's fucking send it.
Answer some questions that people may not have thought about asking before.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. So first things first, we'll get you to introduce yourself.
Who the fuck are you?
Ryan from Kingsford Estate in Bullsbrook. I've been in the land industry from about 2009. Yep. Previous to that, I had a finance career sort of thing. So that's why I sort of filtered into the position I am now. I've been doing land sales, started off with a big Perth developer called LWP. Yep. So selling land at Ellenbrook and all that sort of stuff. So I've really been in that Swan Valley corridor, if you want to say it, for about 10 to 15 years sort of thing. So that's what I've been.
Fucking expert.
Perfect.
What about on the person level? Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you? I'm a dad. I've got 3 daughters, 18 and 15-year-old twins. I live in the Swan Valley as well, so not only do I sell it, I've lived there for 15 years. Perth born and bred, raised in Hillary's.
You.
There we are.
It's fucking bougie, Mr. Bougie man over here.
It is.
Nah, killer.
And what do you love about your job? Like, what do you love about selling land and Kingsford?
Land sales, it's diverse, it's flexible. You never know what each day's going to bring. I'm not a 9-to-5 office person where you sit down and do a job. You're speaking with clients every day, meeting new clients, builders referring your clients, taking people out, showing them the benefits of the projects and all those sorts of things. So it's a job that, as I say, you never do the same thing twice in a day. If you know what I mean, it's always moving and always progressing that way as well.
And it's also like you get to see it from like a pile of fucking dirt and grow into a whole community, because like a lot of the places you've worked are like master planning communities. So really getting to see, and like I see it from the building point of view, and I'm sure you'd agree on this one, is the excitement that a lot of the clients, when they are moving in, they see the infrastructure coming in going, shit, well, now we have like more parklands and this, as it all comes through.
Exactly, and that project I've been on since the very start, so going back 4 or 5 years ago. Effectively, it was an old farm out of Bullsbrook, if you know what I mean. So, and then obviously getting those clients excited about the dream and the vision and all those sorts of things, and trying to tell them that the benefits are becoming. And then actually, as you just said, seeing it grow out of the ground, seeing the park, seeing the capital growth and all that sort of stuff come through as well.
That's going to be quite hard when you start in a new estate or a new master plan, not having a lot to showcase yet, because obviously you've only got your first 10, 15 blocks, whatever it is.
Yep.
You don't really have the parklands or
Yep.
the big roads built out yet. It's very hard, I would assume, to sell the vision, because a lot of people buy off being able to touch, see, smell.
Concept plans.
Yeah.
Concept plans is what I lived off for the first 12 months, if you know what I mean. So this is what we're going to bring, this is what we're going to do, and actually performing on that vision as well. So not only showing them the photo, but in 12 months' time, you actually saw all that come out of the ground as well. Yeah. And then obviously word of mouth with people and starting to grow and all those sorts of things as well.
And how much actually changed? I don't actually have this in our questionnaire, but from a master plan, when it first started off, how much actually changed from what you guys were planning to do versus what's actually been developed? Were there any parks or, blocks changed from what they were supposed to be, or parks moved to a different location? Is that something that changes, or is it quite set in stone?
Quite minimal. So
Okay.
that's what we've done so far. So obviously town centre and all those sorts of things were set out. Obviously, there's quite a big natural beauty that goes through the middle of that estate.
Yes.
Yeah. So that we work that and use that as the jewel in the crown effectively sort of thing. So, but having said that, when you look at a master plan community, they're all pretty well planned out and not too many changes occur in that regard as well. Sort of thing. So parks and all those sorts of things, it depends on topography and all those sorts of things. So that's where they're set out first.
Yep.
And then obviously the direction around that as well.
Yeah, okay, because I never really knew if things change or, if you're allowed to make changes even afterwards.
Little things can change stage by stage.
Yeah.
You read the market as to what product's selling and all those sorts of stuff. So there may be a slight change in block design, block size, going stage to stage, but generally that will just roll throughout the development.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so let's actually dive into the question. So what land size and what's actually available in Perth? What is land size, sorry?
Land size. So you're looking, let's just say the last 20 years, you've seen blocks go to.
Yeah.
So I think so.
So people listening from bigger to smaller.
Bigger to smaller. That's what it is. I think so. And that just depends on location, size, profitability, all those sorts of things when it comes to land development as well. Having said that, I've gone blank.
Land sizes going.
Land sizes, yeah. So your average land size in Perth right now is about 375.
Okay, cool.
That's what you're looking. That's what you're looking at as an average. The development that we're bringing to the market is to change that a little, and we average about 500 squares.
Fuck yeah.
Per block, if you know what I mean. So it's just going back to that old school sort of thing, and especially after COVID, people wanted a bit more space. People wanted a bit more backyard. People didn't want to be this close to their neighbour.
Because everyone had to spend so much more time in their home versus being able to go out, go to the shops, go to the parks, whereas during
So
COVID,
for us to provide a different product to the market is what people are starting to take notice of. Yeah.
Everyone's just sick of living on top of each other. Like, fucking the amount of times it's like houses just almost built on top of each other, which is fair enough. It provides some opportunity for people to live. But then in the same breath, fuck, man, you chuck a shit and your next door neighbour's going to hear you.
Exactly. Finance plays a lot on that, if you know what I mean. So people's affordability, that might be the only product that they can get into the market insteed of paying rent, if that makes sense sort of thing. So, and developers feed off that. If that's the product that's going to sell, that's what we're going to make.
I also don't want to mention, I don't want to shit all over the small blocks because we live on a small block. We have a 320 square metre block, but that's all that we could afford at the time.
Correct.
100%.
So whilst, bigger blocks are so much more desirable, budget's a huge factor, and I would much rather have my own home. It might be small, it might have a small backyard, but it's just enough for the two of us at the moment to live comfortably, happily. Yes, we can hear next door's baby screaming and all that, but I would much rather have our own house than be paying for someone else's mortgage.
But you're in the market paying off your own.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
We're growing equity and we're growing, profitability and all that. I would rather have my own than not have a home at all.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on it. What I'm saying is this is the concept and this is what a lot of the market and what the feedback I'm getting from clients come in going, hey, look, I'm actually renting a bit of a smaller block. I'd rather go travel the extra 5-10 minutes further than what I'm comfortable with if it means I can secure something that's a bit bigger because I don't want that. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what it's all about. So if that's all you can afford, something's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
But if there are opportunities around Perth for you to actually get something that's a little bit bigger, but you're so used to a 15-minute commute and now you need maybe 20 or 25, it might be something to start considering.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, that's why we love Bullsbrook so much. We have sold so much house and land packages in Bullsbrook. It's because of the land size.
Yep. Land size, the way that development has actually been established from the first concept to how it's actually been delivered was a big selling point for me as a consultant and for clients, as well as the price point, affordability, being realistic with what the budgets have been for the last 5-6 years. They haven't really increased in the market, in the actual property market. All that's happened is the rates have gone fucking yeeted up, but the actual budgets of what people can afford hasn't actually increased so much. So then all of a sudden you're getting priced out of other areas. So that's been a really big thing. But then infrastructure, looking at all those things, that is what you want.
Yeah.
Most first-home buyers are going to be sitting in their home for the first, 5 to 10 years on average.
Yep.
And then equity builds up, their life changes. Fuck, look how much has changed for everyone's lives in the last 3 years.
Yeah, but you take Ellenbrook, go back in the days 20 years ago, whatever. Yeah. There was no Tonkin Highway. There was no, the trains out there now, the Tonkin Highway connection, all that sort of stuff. So, and that's now folded onto us.
Yeah.
Tonkin Highway goes past, Stock Road is now connected.
Exactly.
It's 11 minutes past the Ellenbrook turnoff.
Yep, exactly.
So at that point in time, it's,
Yeah.
Not that far at all.
No,
I mean,
it's
when
a
you-
stone throw away now.
Yep.
When you think 11 minutes, that's just you winding through Ellenbrook to try and get to your home.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
what's the big difference?
Yep.
And I'm gonna re-ask the second part of the question: what is actually available in Perth? Because last episode, or a couple of episodes, we said that land is like liquid gold at the moment. There is
Correct.
so little titled land available right now, and I think Kingsford is doing it, or like helping us a huge amount because you have titled land.
Correct.
So how do you guys plan ahead for?
Yeah, to get to a
To
position
get
where
to a
you are
position,
now.
yeah.
So it just comes down to your construction schedule, I suppose. So a lot of developers will sell your block today,
Yep.
go through the construction process and then title up, and then you sell and you're under construction that way. We're 180 degrees set. So effectively the way that we do it is we build the blocks, get them to a titled stage and then put them out onto the market. So less wait time for a client, quicker turnaround for us for selling,
Yep.
and then quicker times to get you slabs down and get off the way and get building, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
Right. So how far? Because obviously everyone struggled during the COVID times, right?
Correct.
Everyone fucking, we were all finding it. Now, it's been about 2 years since the real big rush came in.
Yep.
And you guys are still smashing fucking title land right now, like releasing stages. And 2024, we're getting a huge influx right now with clients coming from NZ, coming from interstate, investors coming in, everyone's smashing the market, which everyone thought was going to slow down. And developers are still struggling to actually get land. So how did you guys get yourselves into a position where you've got quite a bit of land at the moment titled, ready to go, rock and roll? And obviously, like, we're selling quite a few.
Well, that was a process by the owners way back when. So
Right.
that process was 3 to 4 years before we even got out of the ground.
Right.
So as you're aware, it's an old farm that was in
Yes.
Bullsbrook. So obviously that piece of land was acquired. Then you've got to go through your design processes. You've got to go through your zoning processes. You've got to go through all those processes until we can actually get to the point of construction. So you're still looking at 2 to 3 years before that process even
Holy shit.
started
Yeah.
to get through all those different levels of approvals from Water Corp and Western Power and all those sorts of things
All
as
the
well.
red tape.
All the red tape before you get to that point of construction and you're off and running. So in that regard to developers and all that sort of stuff, land supply is now tight.
Yes.
You will find developers now can only get hold of land that might build 400 or 500 houses. But those days of the big communities of, I've got 2,500 to sell up there. Ellenbrook in total was 11,000. Brabham go down to there, I think they've got 4,000 or 5,000.
Yeah.
It just makes a big difference of what you can actually grab now because Perth is getting
Bigger.
and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. What's left? You know what I mean? So when you take into consideration WA as a whole, you've got 4 main corridors.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got your beach corridor at Alkimos Hut.
Yep.
You've got your northwest out the top there. Your Byford or your Baldivis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's really your 4 main points of land growth and whatever they can pick up around that.
Right.
And speaking of development, I think what people should also consider with how developers work, it's not cheap to develop land and develop titled blocks because you have to put in so much more infrastructure to get to blocks being actually there, squared out and leveled out.
Correct.
So I think a lot of developers have to sell a certain amount of blocks, make a bit of money back before they can spend more money to develop
build
more
the next.
blocks.
Correct.
Because guys, it's not cheap to develop land, and we don't need to shout out numbers here at all. But it's not cheap and it's not easy, and it is time consuming because there's so much infrastructure that goes in your roads, your pathways, your lampposts.
Parks.
Am I right? Shooting down
Fences,
the right
front
thing?
landscaping, the whole
Yeah.
lot sort of things. So, and you hit that nail on the head.
Yeah.
These sort of things. So it's put us in our position where, all of those blocks are completed. We haven't settled on one yet. So that's an outlay by the developer to actually get that even built first before that sales and the stuff starts
Yeah.
coming back in.
It's because with titled land, and I think this was ages ago when I'd spoken to a few other developers,
Yep.
and obviously developers, when they're selling title land, they want to obviously push as soon as possible with finances, etc. Because every year you guys, as a developer, they would have to pay additional taxes on every title block or like title stock. Is that correct?
Just shy rates.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Number one,
Yeah.
if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
right.
Like who's paying the rates on that block right now?
Yeah, okay.
All those little things that you pay once you're an owner, well, we're the owner.
Yeah.
Right.
So that all those sort of, they're additional costs to the construction costs that you
Yeah,
just mentioned
shit.
of acquiring land, having civil contractors actually build it. You hit the nail on the head with, from a developer's point of view, we put the roads in, it's the curbs, it's the street lights, it's the sewer pipes, it's the
roundabouts
NBN,
and
it's the
shit.
power, it's like all of those costs that are involved in that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Knowing what land size is, pricing wise, how do you structure pricing? How do you choose a price for a block? Because obviously blocks are so hard to we know in our podcast, as we've spoken, you know, the closer you get to the city, the more expensive the block. And
Yep.
that's because you're close to the CBD, even
Yep.
though I don't know how many people actually travel into the city.
It depends on different works and lifestyles,
Yeah.
but a lot of our clientele and a lot of listeners that we have, a lot of them work a little bit further out. A lot of them are FIFO. Do you know what I mean? So that type of city life isn't really a necessity for
Yeah.
them. Do you know
So
what I mean?
how are block prices chosen?
So a brief overview, that's another part of our business. Obviously, you've got your accountants and all those sorts of things doing the feasibilities, doing the returns, doing all those sorts of bits and pieces to figure out what a block needs to return us and all those sorts of things. And then taking that into account, it's the costs and all those sorts of things as well. So I've lost it again.
The
Can you say that again? The cost. So when it comes to costs and all those sorts of things, obviously we have base pricing for what size of blocks and square meterage and all those sorts of things. But then there's sort of variations to, does the block, you know, overlook a park or the creek or something like that? It's premium, it's elevated. Or is it on a roundabout, or is it, you know, next to a...
Left in, left out, like on the main road.
Exactly. Is it on a main road? So you then start to have your standard pricing for blocks, but then you sort of vary that a little as
You
to what
vary it.
they are.
Okay. And then obviously any developers that are giving like rebates, like fencing and all that, that also comes into the cost of the land, obviously. So then it all comes packaged as one.
Exactly. So 99% of land developers in Perth will provide a front landscaping and a fencing package. Number one, gives normality through the estate with the fencing.
Yep.
If we gave it to people to put up a green colour bond fence, then you get a cream one, then someone puts up a red one, it just doesn't look right.
Yep.
And our point of view is to also provide the front landscaping package, because they're done.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have to wait for you to wait 12 months to get your landscaping done. Like
100%.
so people move in, we do that, the streetscape's good, more sellers move in, go, look at this place, looks nice, let's
More
do it.
street appeal.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's about the street appeal, because then, you know, you hand it off to the client to do their shit, but then at the same time you want these completed. You don't want empty blocks of land in stages that you've sold.
Correct.
Because it just becomes a pain. It doesn't have that streetscape and that desire to live. When you go through an estate and you start seeing all the homes are complete, landscape and stuff,
Correct.
everything's decked out, it gives you a different feel, and that's what I'm assuming. With
And that
developers.
overall presentation.
Yes.
So that's what
Yes.
it comes to as well.
A big one I want to ask, and a lot of clients ask this, with developers, they always delegate a fucking tree at the front. Why?
You can thank your local councils for that.
So that's not actually done by the developer?
No, it's
by
a
the
requisite.
council?
It's a requirement from the local councils to include a street tree in every property.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of thing. So that's not
Take it up with the council,
that's
Nick.
not a developer thing. You can go to your local council on that
Yeah,
one.
okay.
Yeah. And I think they've even started making you put one out the back, have they not?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about
yeah,
that.
they have. Yeah, they have.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we just delegate to the client.
Yeah. Tree by owner.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the next question, how is land actually developed?
So you've got...
You can refer to notes on this one.
No, that's right. So ultimately, you've got your project management teams and all those sorts of things. We've got landscape architects, civil architects, all those sorts of things that need to be done before anything's done. So design, engineering of blocks, retaining walls, all those sorts of things. Landscape engineers, which is the parks, all those sorts of things. So that's where the start of it is, if you know what I mean. So then we move into obviously the feasibility and stuff that we've talked about before.
Yep.
Can you just read that question to me again?
How is land developed?
Developed. Okay. So then you've got your what we call the civil construction.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the actual creation of the next stage or the next cache of blocks or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Most builders will do probably 30 to 70 in one hit.
Okay.
Right.
If you know what I mean. So your civil contractors are the people that do all the compaction of the blocks, the retaining walls, installations of sewer, water, gas, NBN, power, all those sorts of things before roads and all those sorts of stuff come in as well. So there's a big process that goes along of a lot of team members and a lot of different experts along the way to deliver that block at the end.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
cool.
So in Bullsbrook, for example, because obviously that's where you are. So the soil is a bit hit and miss.
Yep.
You get some sandy areas and then you get some fucked up clay.
Yep.
Right. And you guys, I've sold over the years and I've seen how much you guys put into development with the site works part. And that's something I just want to touch on about it, because at the end of the day, we like to explain to people, sometimes you can find cheaper blocks in the same suburb, but then your site works side can fucking go exponentially higher. Whereas in a lot of the estates, yes, you're a bit more expensive, private estates, all this stuff, but also you've got the fact that you guys as a developer have spent a shitload of coin, like you mentioned. Retaining ain't fucking cheap. So getting flat level blocks that are retained as well as all the soil and stuff, because we know straight off the bat when we go into Kingsford, it's a B1 footing, A-class soil, fucking yeet it, day in, day out.
So without getting too technical for the people, and it's really down to footings. So as you're aware, it depends on soil quality. Yes. For example, if you're A-class, we bring in the sand, keep the clay away.
Right.
I use the comparison of if you're down the beach and you spill your bottle of water. Yep. So if it's 100% sand, that bottle of water goes on the sand, the water seeps through, and then that effectively alleviates the cost of your site works down to the lower end.
Yes.
Clay, different bits of things in the soil.
Shit show.
Be somewhere, drop your bottle of water on the clay. What does the water
Mud.
do? Exactly, sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
which then affects your footing costs or construction of the block, and then that's where you'll see your site works increase. So that's where it comes to. So from our point of view, get the clay away, bring in 2.5 metres of clear fill, and then that way your site works costs for your build are at the lower end of the scale.
Right. So you guys actually do bring all that soil in,
correct,
cut it all back, and then fill her up, and that actually helps with the
and
development.
you can see that on site when you're out there as well.
Where do you guys get the sand from? That might be a really stupid question.
Neves Road. Like, I'm not the sand buyer, but it's you'd be surprised. Like that part of the Swan Valley, so to the west of Bullsbrook, to the west of Bullsbrook, to the west of Ellenbrook, in that area out there, I think it's called Lexia. There's sand mines, effectively. So that's where a lot of the developers are buying their sand from to put into their development.
Yeah, killer.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's all yellow sand.
White.
White?
Yep.
Learn
something new every day.
There you go. Fucking learn something. I thought it was yellow.
So the next one is how much does it cost and what goes into it? So, for example, like the earthworks, retaining soil, I think we've just kind of covered that.
Is
Going through
there any sort of like a rough figures that you might be able to throw out there as a indication for people to actually understand, like, you know, it costs, you know, if we're developing about 40 blocks roughly just in the earthworks and shit like that, you know, it might cost you
in the millions. So
really?
Single figures, but you'd be ballparking, you know, five if not more.
Wow,
Yep. To actually outlay first to develop those blocks before you start the sales process.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's wild.
Yep.
And we've mentioned the word developers a lot, and we've covered it in previous episodes, but who or what are developers? Let's break it really down for our clients who don't know what that means.
So
keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. Developers is a team of people that create the project, if you know what I mean. So you're looking at anything from sales, marketing, to accounting, to landscape design, to engineers, to all those sorts of things. So you've got that whole process in your building effectively, where everyone works together to deliver their part of the project, if that makes sense. So developers, it's a wide thing. I mean, small, large, whatever. We're all doing the same thing, but just on a different scale.
Okay.
Right.
That's what it is from there. So
it's basically just a group of people pulling together, like a group of investors and with different, you know, skill sets, and combining it to create land,
sort of thing.
to make it available.
So you look at Perth, for example. You've got your bigger and your smaller developers that you know, from our point of view, like my owners are WA based, we're WA based. I don't have the red tape that some of these larger companies in Perth do that are controlled from the East Coast.
Yes.
So if I need a decision made in Perth, I can walk to the next office and speak to the boss and get stuff done. Whereas, you know, dealing with a company that's East Coast based, that's based in Perth, that's developing in Perth, and you've got to go through all those channels to get changes done. Yeah, exactly, sort of thing.
And so Kingsford Estate is the estate name. It's the master plan community name.
Yep.
But Oakland is the actual developer for Kingsford.
Cool.
And they're the owners of the land?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they're the people that...
With an investment.
They're the company that bought the land and are subdividing it, and then Kingsford is the estate name, which I think we've described in our land episode way
Doesn't
back
matter.
when.
We're doing it now. We're doing it now.
And who is Oakland?
Oakland. So it's a family-owned company, WA based. We've been around since about 1971. So it's gone through the family in all those times. So it's not our first rodeo with that development out there. We've done a couple of more in Perth. Sunrise down at Willard's, another one of ours that we've done, sort of thing. So, and also had stuff on the East Coast, so in Queensland, in Melbourne, and all those sorts of things. So it's a well-oiled machine, but WA based and WA family owned. And we've, that's what I say. We get a lot more sort of, I don't know, outcomes, I suppose, being such a tight-knit team and having it all here. But it's a family business that's well supported.
Yeah, awesome.
Fuck yeah.
And what's the big difference between big and small developers?
It's just, I mean, you'll probably find, I mean, as I just said, family-owned business that's been running for 30, 40 odd years. But when you say big and small, you'll find some of them are stock exchange, if you know what I mean. They're all, people can buy shares in them, people can do that. So it just depends on how big a company it is, if you know what I mean, and what they do. some are private, some are public,
Yep.
based in WA sort of thing. So that's where it comes from. And that's how you get your different variations of size and your buying power.
Yeah, cool.
So there's also the fact of like, you know, with developers like you guys are quite a large developer and it's a master planning community.
Yep.
There are many that we've seen where, you know, you'll get little pockets of land in an area that's currently being built of, let's say, 10 or 15 by like a private developer. So I'm assuming that's just someone or like a little group of people that all put their cash together and then they just subdivide.
Bought some
sell it,
acreage
and
out
off
the
you
back
go.
of, you know, Wattle Grove or whatever it may be, and just do another small development of 20 to 50, if you know what I mean. So that's what they do from there.
And that's what would be more of like a small developer, is just basically someone that does smaller projects and shit like that, rather than enormous communities and like having like it takes a lot of coin to fucking do these
to get
things,
that done.
Which in the long run, if it goes well, obviously is more beneficial, but big cost outlay. Fuck me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've talked about all the developers and everything. And when you start developing a master plan community, infrastructure is super important because that's what brings value to people's homes once they're built. So let's have a chat about infrastructure and what it is and how it's chosen from a developer's point of view.
Yeah, so I'm going to use this as an example. It's easy to explain, I suppose.
Yes.
So you see what we did. One of the first things we did was build a cafe in the estate. Create that little sense of community, get the buyers to come in and say, look, you can come down on a Sunday morning, bring the dog, have the breakfast, take the dog for a walk and all those sorts of things. Number two, what we did was the presentation of the place. So we built that nice big park. We've built an amphitheatre, like we have movie nights, food trucks, all those sorts of things, and that generates that sense of community, if you know what I mean. So on a grander scale, when you say master plan, we already had the town centre and commercial zone set aside. We've already got a school site set aside. We've already got more parks that we're going to build down the track set aside. So you've got to plan all that years in advance, if you know what I mean. So, and when I say years, it could be 5-10 years away before some of that stuff comes to fruition.
Talk about future pacing.
But you're right. But you guys take Brabham, for example, when you moved in, but have a look at the shops that are there now that weren't there 5 years ago, if you know what I mean. So all those little things, they all built in stages, but it attracts those clients and it brings them out as to the whole community development as well.
Will it also come down to, you know, like on a tiered scale of demographics? So you start, obviously you guys bought the land, so you had to start figuring out what the fuck you're going to do with it, right? And then you go, all right, cool, let's have a chat with council and go, we want to put shops in here because there's not much around and this and this. I'm guessing you'd have to provide justification to the council. They would have to approve it before you even get to the concept of, like, the final concept of the estate.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So then when you actually come in, because, like, me as a resident with, like, where we live and shit, obviously you could always do with more, you know, more infrastructure, and that obviously help. Is there, like, a certain limitation how much you can put into a community, or there's, you know, something that, I don't know.
So when you've got, like, for example, we're building the town centre now with the Woolworths as a base tenant sort of thing. So the whole zone is commercial. And as long as it's got a zoning purpose, so whether it be a service station or, you know, whatever it may be, and it fits that purpose, it can go into that town centre.
Right.
So you don't pick and choose or whatever it may be, but obviously whatever wants to buy in and it fits the zoning and fits the purpose and council approved, well, that can be done from there. Which is out of our hands. If you know what I mean. So we provide the land and sell it, but we don't go through the who pick and choose the purchase. Exactly.
So it was actually a real big win for you guys at Kingsford when fucking Woolworths jumped in.
Absolutely.
We're doing it.
Have a think of that, because as soon as a big tenant like that comes in and puts their footprint down, then you start attracting all the other businesses as well.
100%. Well, in that area in Bullsbrook, the only thing you really have is a fucking IGA.
Yes.
Like at the moment, and I've been there.
One of Perth's best butchers as well.
Yes.
Bully Butcher.
I've heard good things about
Bully Butchers is nice. Bully Butchers is nice. But like in terms of actual, you know, shopping centre, you'd have to trek it out to Ellenbrook at the moment. So something of that calibre to actually come in.
Because your current set of infrastructure will not support the influx of
100% of all the demographic that's coming in. So that's a fucking big win.
So we have mentioned the word master plan a lot, and maybe behind us we'll put up a picture of what a master plan looks like. So what is the difference between a master plan and a stage plan, and how do you choose where in the master plan you release the next stage plan?
So you've seen a master plan, it's the overall development. So effectively for us, it's the next 10 to 12 years. So you've got that plan to show you where we're going, what we're heading and all that sort of stuff. Stage by stage plans are released as per release. So 30 to 50 lots at a time. There's the park, there's the streets, there's the levels of lots and all those sorts of things, and it's a more defined thing as well. From a development point of view, though, those things can change because you read the market. So it's no point in me making 70 blocks at a certain size where where we are now. Interest rates are up. This is what's happening, all those sorts of things if they're not going to sell. So you're sort of forecasting a year or a year and a half in front to find out what the market will need in that time as well, sort of thing. So even though it doesn't change much, they can still change stage by stage.
Yeah, so instead of, developing to the left, you're going to develop to the right.
Yeah, correct.
And I think Kingsford at the moment are developing
towards the shopping
centre.
Correct. So the idea is to join that up with the rest of the community and then obviously start progressing through the rest of it.
Yeah, okay, cool. And we've talked about what's an estate. What are the pros and cons of private estate versus public estates?
So that's coming back to state housing and all those sorts of things. So you'll find where they're located, or when it comes to state housing and all those sorts of things, is generally in estates that have a government interest. Okay. So government ownership or government owned part of the land or something like that, compared to us where we're a private developer. So no government involvement, so no need to provide government housing within the estate, if that makes sense. So you'll find places like, and I'm just going to use the corridor for an example, so the Ellenbrooks and the Brabhams that have effectively some sort of interest from that.
Yes.
And then you've got your private developers that are on the outside, so where you're the Henley Brooks and stuff like that, where there's no sort of government involvement, so there's no need for that product to be delivered.
And government housing, guys, isn't always a bad thing. That could be stuff like veteran affairs,
pensioners, all that sort of stuff.
You've got your pensioners. Some of them can actually be built and sold straight off the market as well. You're not ever guaranteed, because a lot of people might have had some bad experiences in some suburbs with some group housing where the tenants can be fucking fuckwits, but it's not always the case. It could be a single mum that's got some assistance from the government to actually get into a home for their family.
Correct.
There's so many different layers to it, but again, some people will sit there and go, you know what, I'd rather pay that little bit more and avoid that risk. And that's what it's all about. Like me personally, we've looked at all of them, but I always go through all the process with clients, and if it's an extra 5 or 10 and there is a private estate, that is always something that I always push first and advise the clients. And not a single person has ever batted an eye about it.
Well, as long as clients are making educated decisions, they know 100%. All the options, that's all that we can do.
Yeah, that's it.
So, why Bullsbrook? Let's really shine a light. Why Bullsbrook?
Let's start with the...
hold on, buckle in.
Let's approach the fucking elephant in the room.
We build houses to make money.
Yeah.
Or we live in houses. It's our asset, if you know what I mean. So you're building your own house. You want to make some money out of that and all those sorts of things. So you look at market analysis and all those sorts of things, and numbers don't lie. So the most recent REWA figures that came out last week showed Bullsbrook had an annual growth of 33% last year, which is massive in this market, if you know what I mean. So Bullsbrook is a town site, and then when you look at that and think, some of the clients that I've spoken to of yours or whatever it may be, people are making 80, 90 or 100 grand before they've got the keys to their house. Yeah. Try and save that in a year, if you know what I mean. Like people can't do that sort of thing. So my thing is, when you talk to clients and all that sort of stuff, you're probably 99% of the time not going to live in that house for 30 years.
Yep.
Really, get into the market, make some money, make some equity. If you want to move on or move up or upgrade or whatever it may be, you can do that in the 5, 10, 15 years, but look at those areas for growth, if you know what I mean. Like that's where we are. And obviously Bullsbrook with its infrastructure now, connectivity to the airport. If 50% of our clients up there are FIFO, so it's 30 minutes from the airport back to Bullsbrook with Tonkin Highway now. I'm not spending an hour getting back up to the coast, or I've just been on shift for 2 weeks. I don't want to spend an hour and a half getting home, if you know what I mean. So, and then obviously when you look at Bullsbrook as a whole, it's got that whole lifestyle feel to it as well. It's not far away from the city, but it still gives you that sort of
It's not metro, but it's not country.
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
beautiful in the middle.
It's not a concrete jungle, but it's not whoop like rural country.
Correct.
It's that perfect mix between where you go, I'm a little bit more further away. I'm not in the hustle and bustle, but at the same time, if I need to get somewhere, I'll be there in the next 15, 30 minutes.
Exactly.
I can go wherever I need within 20, 30 minute range.
And you look at, Averley, Brabham, Averley, whatever, 10, 15 years ago, your friends, my friends looked at you and went, what are you moving out there?
100%, man. I've lived in Morley Dynella my whole life. Yeah. So when I heard about Brabham and shit, I was like, what the fuck am I going?
There's nothing out there. There's nothing this, there's nothing that. Now you've got the connectivity, you've got all the shopping centres around, you've got Swan Valley on your doorstep.
100%.
If you know what I mean? So all those sorts of things as well.
And everyone's fighting to try and get in, and the prizes have just...
And everyone's made how much money over the last 10, 15 years in those sorts of things. So having said that as well, not only was it annual growth, but from an investment point of view, Bullsbrook came in number 2 nationally last year for rental growth at 33%.
Wow.
Only suburb that it was behind was Rose Bay in Sydney. So that gives you an idea of...
Across Australia. I thought that was just for WA.
No, so that was the rental was Australia-wide. and the capital growth was WA. So 33% in both of them, but
mental.
Put your money hat on.
Yeah,
Look that 5 or 6 years in advance as to where the growth is going to be and all those sorts of things, because we are the first step of many that are going to come around us in the next 5 to 10 years, if you know what I mean. So that's where it is.
So a question, because normally when you start seeing shit on the news and all that, normally starts to, like, you're on the teetering edge of you might, you know, have already overcapitalized in that area. Is there still a lot of growth in that area in terms of, obviously we've got the infrastructure of like the shops. Is there much else so that people that are considering or thinking about it, is there still time for them to actually look into getting
absolutely
into
so you can compare the prices now. We're still the most affordable in the corridor for people. Still providing the best options. Still got the best site works, as I said, in that regard as well. But then when you look at the broader picture of Perth, what are your other options? If you know what I mean, like it's so tight to get something on that northwest corridor out the beach. It's so tight to get something, you know, down towards Baldivis and all those sorts of things. It really sort of opens up that whole availability, I suppose.
Yeah.
So people do have that growth to still go in and take advantage of all those things around them as well.
And the bigger blocks, at the end of the day, you may have to travel that little bit longer if you want to try and find some of those bigger blocks. Like we ended up taking all of your big 570, 600 square blocks now. There's only a couple
But just on a whole, where can you find a 600 square metre block in Perth right
nowhere
now?
anymore.
They're perfect for our garage designs.
For our 6 cars, we want those.
That's
18
all the frontages as well.
Yes.
So your 17s and your 18s, because everything's heading towards the 12 and a half, the 10 and a half, 12 and a half.
Too
it's
small.
different like that as well, and depth as well. So most of our blocks are 32 deep instead of 30.
Yeah.
You know what? That 2 meters makes a huge difference when it comes to backyard.
You need a pool out there today.
Yeah.
Well, half our clients are starting to slap fucking pools in there, and it's got that extra clearance where they could still fill it in, but it's that little bit more. Yeah, it's that little bit more where you're not right on the edge. So then their cost of drop footings and everything actually comes in cheaper.
Yep.
To actually install the pools because you've got that extra gap.
Yep.
So it's small things, but fuck me, it makes some difference.
Lucky last question. What's up and coming for Bullsbrook? What is coming to Bullsbrook soon? I think we've mentioned a lot of it, but what can we expect from Bullsbrook in the next?
You will probably find a lot of growth in the commercial zone. Okay. So you've travelled Stock Road. You've seen all the exits that have been recently constructed in there. So effectively, Bullsbrook Commercial Park is going to be like a new Malaga, you know, new Kewdale type thing, and you'll find a lot of the mining companies will start coming out because of their access to Tonkin.
Yeah, right.
So all the big haul packs that you see driving through from Kewdale and all that can now be based out Bullsbrook-wise, straight up to Tonkin and out, if you know what I mean. So what does that do straight away? Employment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can live close to work, do that sort of stuff. So you've got all your employment opportunities, all those sorts of things. And then I just think with the capital gains around it as well, the shopping centre is only stage one. You know, there'll be more to that. There'll be more, you know, things for people to do, see, all those sorts of things as well.
As a size comparison, like in Brabham, they've got the big shopping centre that just happened in there, right?
Yep.
Is that the similar size that people could potentially look at expecting in Bullsbrook
Yes.
for like size of that?
Yep, exactly, sort of thing. So that's what we're doing in that regard as well. So little things like, you know, we've got a pub site up for sale. We've got, you know, all those sorts of things.
Hey.
Do you want that sort of thing? So, but they're all things that just need a little bit more population until they start popping out of the ground.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with Brabham. Like when we built in Brabham, we got promised the fucking shops when we first built. It's 7 years and we only just got it.
Just got
you know
it.
What I mean? And people got promised well before, but once that demographic really kicked in, hey presto,
because you do need to support it.
Exactly. Hey presto, the fucking site happened. So that was cool, and that was a big change for that corridor in Brabham.
Correct.
And that ramped a lot of the property prices, and then obviously demand and all that shit also. So for that to then, like, hand to heart, I say it to clients all the time, Bullsbrook is the next Brabham. And because of all of this infrastructure that I've seen, that, you know, we've had many discussions, and how you guys have already gone well ahead of it. When I first spoke with you, when we were first selling those blocks, when it was just a fucking concept, the shops weren't like 10 years away. And we're doing them in 5. Like, you've literally pulled it forward. Is that a lot because of how much sales has happened in the area? And
it's a perfect storm.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm. So obviously the increase in population, being the approvals coming in early, whatever it may be, having the connectivity now brought through, that's like, as I say, it's a perfect storm of 10 or things that made that sort of start to action now. Don't get me wrong, we're still a year away from opening it. It's under construction, all those sorts of things. But a lot of people have still got a year to build yet, if you know what I mean. So that's where we are.
Well, it's something that you end up investing in, and, you know, the process, even though our construction, we do guarantees of our builders from slab to keys in 12 months, the whole process may take 12 to 18 months. So by the time people are pulling the trigger now or considering it, they might be getting real close to literally just moving and getting their landscaping done, and then the shops are open.
And, you know, you're taking timelines and all that sort of stuff. I mean, COVID was 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
You know?
What the fuck?
That seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
You think how long things go, whatever. We're 2024. COVID was 2020, give or take sort of thing.
I still
So
cringe at that fucking word.
that just goes, it just shows you how quick time just moseys on sort of thing. So
it doesn't stand still. You you keep powering through. So what you do with it, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. So let's plug.
Is there anything else you want to add in before we plug?
I think we covered it, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you fucking coming on. That was fucking.
That's right.
I think this is a banger episode.
It's really good. It's really good to just simply get an insight from a natural developer, someone that's been in the land side for so fucking long as well, with multiple different developments, rather than just being like, you know, me having a yarn about a lot of the experiences I've had over, you know, the 7 years.
But just to sort of backtrack, it's to enhance that customer experience as well. So I get them. We go out and have a look at the block. We trounce it around. We compare. You get that sort of, you get them to fall in love with that block, and then you know you've got your choice in front of you on that, and that really connects them to it. Then, and the process becomes real.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just sitting at a table like we are and just looking at a plan.
Yeah, 100%.
And saying your block's 400 metres over there behind the fence under construction. Doesn't give that person that connectivity to it, if that makes sense.
Well, and people will go and secure it because there's, you know, no other options. But if there is an option where you sit there, you know, you go for a trek, you go out to go see the estate, and we highly do recommend going out to Kingsford to have a look, especially for a lot of the guys that sit there and go, fucking Bullsbrook is heaps far away. Yes, it was, but with a lot of the connections, especially Tonkin has absolutely saved its ass. I will say that because it was a fucking pain to drive there. Seeing it now, how quickly you just fucking blink to get there. Once you go and you start seeing the reason why so many of our clients and so many people are buying into this area, it fucking presents well. Hats off to you guys with Oakland. You guys have done a real good job on that point. But at the same time, you then start comparing it, like you were saying before, the fucking price difference is like 80 to 100K between Brabham, where everyone really wants to go. If not more. And you're fucking 10 to 12 minutes away. Like, fuck me, man. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, save yourself 100K. That's a fucking decent car if you want one, or you can actually do other shit with it.
But just like for the listeners, I suppose, I think the next 18 months to 2 years is if you snooze, you lose. Land supply, land availability, pricing, interest rates where they are now, which they say will start coming down this year, whatever it may be. But if you're in a position to do it, if you're waiting too long, you're going to miss the boat. It's as simple as that. So don't forget, you know, you can make a lot of sales in land, but it doesn't record for Landgate for 6 or so months, and then the West Australian will say land starting to take off in Perth. Took off 8 months ago.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? Like that's what you've got to take into consideration. So for the listeners, it's like, okay, if you're in the position to do it, don't dilly-dally, jump into the market and get it going.
So obviously we're going to about to, you know, wrap it up and then we'll obviously tag in about your website, because obviously you guys have all your land available there and shit. What people are going to be able to see as land availability, is that what we can expect to be all that's left for the remainder of this year, or is there potentially more works happening in the future?
Yeah, so we've still got a current price list that, as you see, varies all the time, sort of thing. So blocks come on, blocks come off, blocks come back, all those sorts of things. And then obviously we are pretty much next. What are we now? February today? February, we're under construction for the next stage. So I've got 70 odd to sell now, which are all there. You can come look at it and all that sort of stuff. And then construction starts, and then by, let's just say, probably September, October, they'll be potentially. So there's always a continual supply in that regard as well.
So September, October, a new stage would be released.
Correct.
Hopefully.
Effectively complete. So
your
your clients can get ready in that time or whatever it may be, or jump on the stuff you've got now.
And perfect for the clients that need a little bit of a savings plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where you try and get what's available, but if not, it's not the end of the world. You guys, like in Kingsford, still have quite a few years there. Still got plenty of blocks available and some real killer ones in the future as well. But yeah, fucking absolutely stoked.
Perfect.
You know, with what's available. And at the end of the day, the number one thing in 2024 is land availability, trying to secure something. And people are going to be struggling with builders as well. Some of the builders are going to start shutting doors for a month at a time to to stop the influx of work and to be able to actually keep things going because, man,
Builders don't want another 2020.
they don't want another.
And there's only
2020.
so many brickies in Perth.
100%,
exactly.
100%. So
We don't need another boom.
title land is golden for builders. So keep that in mind as a client when you're thinking about it. Number 2, location where it is and accessibility for trades. That's another one. Number 3, fucking, yeah, you snooze, you lose, man. Like at the end of the day, big block, you know, they're not even like big blocks. They're just realistic blocks. And you want them as quickly as possible to actually still have that opportunity. We all wanted fucking 900 square blocks. We don't have that anymore. You may get a few big ones, cool, but otherwise what you see is what you get. And if the average is 375, that needs to start raising some sort of concern for people that if you can find something bigger, jump on it.
Exactly. So, happy for me to plug?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So we can find Kingsford on Instagram.
Correct.
At Kingsford at Bullsbrook. On Facebook.
Correct.
Kingsford at Bullsbrook. And your website, which is www.kingsford.com.au.
Correct.
Or just Google Kingsford at Bullsbrook. Kingsford, which is KINGSF for Ford. ORD. That was not very clear.
That was
Just read my shirt,
Julia
Julia.
was severely.
Here, I'll just hold that up and just read that. Or
That was not creative at all.
That was a fucking blonde one. That's what that was.
And you can find Mr. Enthusiast on.
Before you find us, if you want to go to Kingsford, either reach out to us
yeah.
or just simply type in Kingsford, go out for a trek to the estate and just fucking go have a spit down with Ryan.
Yeah.
He's a good egg.
Thank
He'll
you.
fucking he'll show you around. He'll show you basically how we've got clients on basically every street out there. So you'll be in our community of the Bullsbrook community, but also just to see what the fuck a developer that actually takes a lot of pride and is WA owned, what it actually looks like and what's future and upcoming as well. But anyways, where can you find Mr. E?
On Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, website, Google, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.
Fuck oath.
And if you guys could leave a rating or a review, that would be really helpful. Keep those flowing in.
Any questions that you guys might have for us to hopefully try and drag fucking Ryan back in and ask him some other questions.
Shoot them through.
Yeah, we're just letting you know now you want to come back.
okay, perfect.
But otherwise, thank you so much, Aaron, for watching. Thank you, Ryan, you fucking legend.
Thank you for having me.
Man.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. We finally got there in the end. It's
Yes.
just trying to fucking work between our schedules, but we got there. Yeah, fucking everyone, like us, rate us, share this shit out.
And just remember, guys.
We're not here.
Fuck spiders.
Fucking oath we aren't.
Bye.
Send it.